Hello and welcome back to the Cornhusker Cooldown. My name is Patrick Patio, and I have Joe Mojojoe after an undefeated season.
Undefeated, 7-0.
Come on.
Made the run, first seed, playoffs, whatever. But let's get into the series.
Yes,
That
SDSMT.
clinched our undefeated season
Come on.
against STSMT.
Really
It
good job.
was pretty easy.
Yeah, it
Um,
seems like it gets easier every week.
I guess I'll say a little caveat is they didn't play their main roster and they didn't play all their main roles. So it probably would have been at least a bit closer. I do think we would win either way, but it's something to point out. So.
Yeah, I mean, you had a great series. First game was on the Zaya, Deathless.
Deathless, 14-0.
I had some crazy plays in the mid lane towards the end of that game. Definitely. How was the laning phase? I'm sure it was pretty easy, but I felt like you didn't get as far ahead as I would have expected.
Well, I was 50 CS up. So
Okay.
50 CS up. I think I got the entire all tower plates. So I mean, I was very far ahead. It's just not in the kill count as much.
Right.
So
Yeah. I guess when you're, still very much ahead. I just would have expected more kills, but
yeah, I mean, we weren't always looking for play spot lane, and then Ashe Nautilus can be safe.
yeah.
So
I guess most of the action was happening mid lane.
yeah,
A lot of stuff was around Elusive versus Arkan, so
a lot of the jungle support focus was around there. So
that's for sure. Yeah, the comps were very normal in this first game.
yeah, pretty normal. Mordekaiser blind is something you don't usually see, but I would say it's just standard. I'd say we had the Skarner, Orianna, Rakan, Zaya, Mordekaiser.
Yeah, I wasn't the Mordekaiser in because you guys were predicting the fall or an answer to Alawi potentially.
Yes, it was.
So yeah, I had talked to.
It was just if they picked Alawi, we picked Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser's not doesn't have too many huge counters, so it's just a safe blind pick, especially because Ornn was banned. So
yeah, I mean solid first game, and then second game, very normal draft
normal,
for you guys.
Normal in quotation marks.
Yeah. I mean normal in the past 2 weeks. We had Silas last week as support.
Well,
Why not have a Lee Sin?
The builds were a bit odd. We were encouraging them. I was encouraging.
I remember I saw the Magi's on Sejuani. I didn't see it on Garen when I was casting. You pointed that out afterwards. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way." What do you mean he has Magi's?
Yeah.
Oh, he has Magi's.
And then Syndra did have Magi's as well.
Yeah. So we had three Magi's and a Hubris.
Yep.
Why did you have Hubris?
I didn't have Hubris.
What the heck?
I'm playing Attack Speed Callista, that's why. But, I mean, yeah, we had Garen top, did not build Magi's until almost at the end of the game. Sejuani jungle, who built Magi's first, and then Proto Belt. Syndra mid, went a standard build with Magi's. Then Callista Lee Sin bot lane.
That was wild. You guys threw me on a loop because I was definitely expecting that Sejuani to go top, and I was like, "Ooh, we get to see." But we have space on Lee Sin. That's kind of crazy. That's okay. I guess we're going spicy, but I mean, it was a different.
It
kind
was
of spice.
always intended to be support Lee Sin.
That's so crazy. I love it. I love it. It's gonna make everyone's jobs really hard when it comes to playoffs.
Yes, it will. Because we have, Lee Sin, Silas support. We have played Rumble support in the past. So just pick ban is a lot more interesting now that we've shown we're willing to play them. So
yeah, I think that's the willing is the key word because I think it's very clear. Like you guys probably wouldn't pick Silas or Lee Sin into like NDSU, ISU, DSU. Like
maybe.
Probably not. Maybe. But something like a Rumble or something. Just something. If a matchup's really good, like if Poppy just slaps really hard, like if we're willing to play Lee Sin and Silas, I could see just Z being like, no, I'll step up and I will really
carry the game,
really carry on,
do the damage for the team,
and hey, it's gonna be really good going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a phenomenal series, definitely the MVP, 22-2 and 13. Almost a 20 KDA. What the heck?
Almost 20.
You should have just not died twice.
I mean, I was tanking tower both times I died, by the way.
Skill issue.
So I will blame the rest of my team for mismanaging tower aggro, of course.
Not even 10 CS a minute, only 9.3.
Well, so funny enough,
what the heck?
my first game was 10 CS a minute. The second game is when you're playing Callista and you're, hopping around trying to kill everyone. It's
You can hop to minions faster.
no,
Right? Yeah.
well, you're hopping to enemy champions faster to kill them.
That's fair.
But
No. I mean, it was a very quick series. Very.
both about 25-minute games. So.
Yeah. I mean, very. Very clear winners here, and it's really cool to see that the momentum is still moving in a forward direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, now we had other games this week, and it was two bangers. I will
two games that were supposed to be close. So first series, Augustana versus USD. Augustana taking the dub 2-0.
Let's go, Augustana!
Yeah, I mean, Augustana has been better than the other two bottom teams. So I expected it and I predicted it.
Yep.
I don't know how close the games were off the top of my head.
I don't believe they were. I don't think it was that close. Now,
the other
that were close.
DSU versus NDSU. DSU was able to pull out the upset, winning 2-1. And I say upset in quotations almost. DSU has been very good in the past, and they just, I'd say, throughout the first half of the season, didn't live up to the expectations I'm sure everyone had for them. So now they're probably much better now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, their drafts. I've always been critical of Melmo not being on these very good carries, and this series he was on much better carries.
No more Swain.
No more Swain.
No more Senna.
No more Senna. No more
AP
Seraphine.
Twitch.
We're giving him stuff that gets us wins, and they crushed that bot lane. I would like that. Watching that series was the only reason why it felt like NDSU was still in it was team play and Chanter just somehow picking up kills.
Yeah.
Every single time. It does feel like that's.
Did you watch any of the NDSU or any of the series? Or?
Yeah. No. It felt like DSU should have won 2-0 is what it felt like, and NDSU, but it just felt like their team fighting was bad.
Yeah.
I think if they can I don't know what it was, but they just would overextend in the weirdest way possible. They would just give out way too many kills. But their laning, I mean, all across the board, I think everywhere except for jungle was just dominating.
Yeah.
Especially bot lane.
Though I will say, NDSU was almost won this 2-0. They did win game 1, and then game 2, they got to 40, 45 minutes with a Kog'Maw comp. So one team fight goes differently. We could be looking at a different picture with NDSU winning 2-0. But.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, game score wise, definitely. Watching the games, it just felt like DSU should have won all three games.
Yeah.
But NDSU just were cleaner as a team. They just gave up less. Their fights were just really good. It felt like individually they're worse all across the board, except for jungle. I think it's Green Fire is
Green Guy,
something like that.
Fire Alpha is the top.
Fire Alpha is but the jungle was a big boon for NDSU, but everywhere across the board, it just felt like individually DSU were better, but it didn't matter because of how well NDSU played together as a team.
Or the other way around, because DSU won. So NDSU was better individually, or DS?
No, DSU was better individually, and that was able to push them over the limit. Because NDSU won the first game, just out of team play, and then game 2. But because they're getting stomped everywhere, it just felt like DSU should have won the entire series. So,
all right,
yeah.
But yeah, that's our last week's series, and I mean it was the final week, so we'll go over standings. I will say before anything else, any series against BVU since they dropped out counts as a 2-0 win if you played them. So, with that in mind, I guess we can go every other one. Do you want to start it?
Hey, I'll start it. First place. Nebraska Esports. Wonderful job. Had a clean season, only dropping 2 games in total. 7-0
with a 14-2 game record.
Come on.
So
I'll drop in a game to NDSU and ISU.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But hey, so second place there was a 3-way tie
mm-hmm.
with teams we'll get into. But the winner of the 3-way tie is NDSU. I think it's where we expected them to land.
Yep.
Maybe not as close. And I mean, they went 5-2. They lost to us and DSU in the final week, and game score 12-4. Still a pretty good season, and definitely putting themselves in place to be a contender. So
yeah, had a pretty great season. But another team that had a great season that was also tied was ISU, being new to CCL. I think really stepped it up. Did a great job this season. Was 11-4 in game score. Was very fun to see. I mean, their top laner has been phenomenal all season long.
Definitely the MVP.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can almost argue of the league, he's the MVP maybe, because you think about it like if you took that player away and put him with like a more average top laner, it definitely they would not be very good.
Yeah, I think they would. I think they'd probably drop below Mines. I definitely think
probably yeah.
So as someone who is valuable to their team, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think if there was an MVP running or whatever, he would definitely be a finalist at least. So.
Come on. Yeah.
But in fourth place, the loser of the 3-way tie, going 5-2, DSU, starting off the season poorly, ending very strong, I'd say.
Yeah.
Losses to UNL and ISU, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
So.
And, definitely one of the things that they always seem to ramp up towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently. And I think they're definitely underrated in comparison to where they're ranked right now.
Yeah. We'll see that later. I would say like the biggest thing they fixed, or maybe they just were griefing early on purpose, was the drafts. Once you get more standard drafts, once you have I'd say just a better 80 carry pool that you're drafting.
Yeah, Momo's just so good. I don't know.
He's a good 80 carry.
I want him on the except whenever he's playing against us. He's fine to play whatever he wants elsewhere. But yeah, for their team, I think if they put him on normal stuff, they'd do much better.
And then I'm gonna hijack the next one. So STSMT went 3-4, game score 6-8. Disappointing. A little disappointing.
Yeah.
So I mean. They're at where they usually were at in past seasons, at that middle of the pack. But we talked about it earlier on this season. We wanted to see them take another step up because they have been. So
yeah, and I know roster difficulties does make that complicated. But you always want to see if a team is able to step up into that and overcome that. And they have one more chance. But we'll get into their
we'll get into it
chance,
later. But I hijacked it so you can have this one.
I noticed because in sixth place we have Augustana with the season. I think that they're pretty happy with, and kind of to be expected. 2-5. They beat the teams that they were expecting to beat, and
lost to the teams they were supposed to lose.
Yeah, I think it was just a very normal season.
Yeah. I can't comment on if it's like maybe this is just their JV team, maybe they're just for funning. I mean, I won't get upset at them.
No, and I think in some of their games it was. I
mean, to be fair, when we played against them, their top laner probably was the best player on the team. He wasn't like super insane diffing Isaac or whatever. He wasn't solo killing him over and over again or whatever.
He was definitely holding his own.
Yeah, he was just. He was doing fine.
Yeah, he was there. He was showing up.
Yeah. Unlike some of his teammates.
True. I hard agree with that. And I think in game score 4-10. So
swept everyone they
were supposed to, and then
got swept
by everyone they were supposed to. Definitely a season that we exactly expected it to be.
All right. And in seventh place and last place, you have University of South Dakota, USD.
Yep.
I mean, it's expected, but I feel like when you're in this type of situation, it is still kind of sad. Unlike Augustana, where I feel like you're kind of content with beating some teams. Yeah, I mean, you're finishing last, and you're not really winning any games.
Yeah.
They went 2-12 in game score. The 2 wins versus BVU, who I don't even know if they played. So. It might have been after they dropped out.
I think Augustana had played, but I don't know if USD has. But yeah, I mean, being a part of a team that's whenever it's hard to get wins. Hey, we'll get to them later. Don't rush me. I want to emotionally process it first. But yeah, definitely. We'll hope to see them next semester.
No.
And see if they're able to. Well, they have another game, but we're gonna get to that in a moment.
Yeah, I just hope they show improvement.
Yeah.
And if they don't, hope they're just having fun at least. So.
Yeah.
But we're going to power rankings. We're going to not do it as long this week.
Yeah.
So, easy thing. UNL first for both of us. You have NDSU second.
I do.
I have DSU second. They're ramping up a lot, and their win over NDSU put them from third to second over NDSU, and I have NDSU third, and you have DSU third.
I do, yeah.
I
think it's very. I can definitely see DSU being the contenders, but in that game, if NDSU just clean up some of their individual play, I think it'd be so difficult for DSU to play in those series, and I think that's the reason why I have them just slightly above DSU, but I think that might just be pretty difficult to accomplish in such a short time.
Yeah.
But I want to see if they can.
Yeah, if any team can, it'd be NDSU, I think.
Yeah.
But we have both fourth place. We have ISU. I think it's roughly the place we expect them to be, especially with DSU ramping up. I feel like it's hard to put them above teams they lost to and a team that's been hot for the second half of the season. STSMT fifth, kind of middle of the pack. And then we have Augustana and then USD, exactly where they are supposed to be.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely nothing out of the ordinary from what we kind of expect. I kind of want to tag on something that might be interesting, which is comparing what we originally had our power rankings at the, and I have it right here.
All right. Pull them back up.
In first place, we both had UNL. Second place, we both had NDSU.
I mean, it makes sense. They are the regular season reigning champs twice in a row. And, I mean, looking at the roster, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So.
And right now they're ranked second, so.
They finished second.
They finished.
Yeah, I would say if you compared the power rankings to our power rankings.
Right, yeah. We definitely have them.
No. I have them third. You have them second. Roughly where they're supposed to be.
And then this is when it starts getting switched up a little bit.
I think, don't I have like STSMT third?
No, not quite. You have ISU third.
Okay.
And then STSMT fourth. And with DSU fifth in fifth.
Yes, I'm trying to remember. Was this after we played DSU?
This was the game after DSU.
I think if it was before we played DSU, I think I would have had him higher. But because they kind of wet the bed week one against us, and I mean, it wasn't just like individual play and team play. It was also drafting. It was also coaching. It was like, it looks really rough for them right now, so they'd have to fix a lot of issues, and they did.
Yeah.
So,
for me, I had after NDSU, I had DSU and then STSMT and then ISU, so I had them ranked a little bit lower than they should have.
I do remember why as well, and it's simply because of rank.
It's just rank, yeah.
You had 2 diamond players, and then after that, you had like 2 emerald,
platinum-ish,
and then you had like a gold-ish type of player support. So I can see why, and I don't blame you. And it was roughly where they ended up. It was 1 place difference. So.
And then both of us for the last place had Augustana and then
USD
or
and BVU.
USD, and that was very interesting to see how it was pretty close in our original.
I mean, we've played long enough, and most of the players are still returning. So I think it'd be interesting to see how it goes like next fall semester if there's a lot of player turnover. So we'll see then.
Absolutely. But we have the playoffs coming up.
We have playoffs next week on Monday, November 2nd, if I remember. Might be the 3rd.
It's the 4th.
4th? Well, but we'll go over it. So 7 teams means that first seed gets a bye straight into semifinals.
We made it.
So
Let's go.
semifinals and finals
Congratulations.
will be at a LAN event in Madison, South Dakota, the USD or DSU.
DSU.
It's the same 3 letters, okay? But yeah, so we got first seed, we got the bye.
Mm-hmm.
We will be playing the winner of DSU and SDSMT, which is arguably the only series that could go either way.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can go into predictions
Yeah,
now.
I mean, yeah, DSU has been ramping up, and it feels like SDSMT has not been there. So
And ramping down.
Honestly, I think they earlier on in the season they did look better.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's very possible for a 2-0 sweep easily.
Yeah. I say DSU 2-0. If they play their full regular roster, with everyone in the right positions and whatever, I see a world where SDSMT wins because I do think they have that playoff magic, perhaps.
Somehow, every single time.
They have that playoff magic, or they got just like maybe they just have a return to form. But I'm hoping that it's at least closer than a 2-0 for DSU. So
Definitely. But I'm definitely expecting a 2-0.
yeah. But second series, the next series, second seed NDSU plays 7th seed USD. It's going to be a stomp.
Mm-hmm.
NDSU is going to 2-0.
Yep.
I don't think we're going into it.
No,
but
definitely don't want. I want them to be hiding their picks. That's what I want to. Like, I don't want them to show anything.
They don't need a hard. I mean, they play Kog'Maw every game,
Mm-hmm.
so
just keep playing Kog'Maw.
Yeah. And then last series, we'll face the winner of that series. It's between ISU and Augustana. It'd be very funny if Augustana won a game or 2.
I'd love it.
My prediction's ISU Giga Stomps 2-0. So
yeah, I also have it as a 2-0 for ISU. I mean, it'll be an interesting series, but it should just be a quick 2-0.
Yeah.
So,
but
be excited to see what goes on there. But CCL has been happening.
CCL did happen. We briefly touched on it when Jerry was on the podcast, talking about like what we think is going to happen. But we've played all 4 of our CCL games. Mm-hmm. So we can go on each one individually. I don't think you watched anyone, right?
No, because
you had something to do, so
yeah,
I won't blame you.
Yeah, it was during a JV game every single time, but
or a scrim.
No. But first game you guys played was against MSU,
Michigan State. It was rough. I think mentally we just weren't there for it. We lost essentially every lane. And we just kind of got dominated everywhere. Game 2, we did show improvement. We were looking for more plays. We found plays that worked, but at the end of the day, we still lost. So
yeah, I think if I remember right, it was no turrets, no dragons, no grubs, or game 1.
Game 1 was I don't remember game 2 because I think we might have taken a tower or 2, but it was just Michigan State all the way. And at the end of the day, they got first place in the group. So
yeah, and I believe if I remember correct, this was the team that we were like expecting. Like, this is if we want to be trying to get out, this was the first team that like we have a reasonable chance of winning.
Yeah.
But
and to be fair, I mean, just looking at CCL in the whole, if we show up against MSU, there's a chance we take a game off or win the series. I think they're the best team in the group, obviously, but the other 3 games were totally winnable. So.
Yeah. So the next series was against TMU.
Toronto Metropolitan University. Game 1 was really, really fun. And I say it's one of the best games we played this year.
So we won.
We did win. Game 1, we did win. It wasn't like a super stomp that we see in CCL sometimes, but it's just clean, consistent plays that have good thoughts behind them. And there wasn't a whole lot of mistakes as well. So,
love to see that.
Game 2 and Game 3, we're close. This was when we were in Net War, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Game 2 was fine. I mean, it was sort of like their win, their retaliation. You know how sometimes Game 1, team wins. Game 2, the team comes back with a counterpunch or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It was just sort of that game where it's like they deserved to win it, obviously. And I wasn't super upset that we lost it. But Game 3, I feel like was a different story. So we were blue side and we picked Orn and they R5'd Fiora. And then Level 1, we give Fiora first blood before minions even hit.
Good idea.
And, I mean...
It's a solid game plan.
Same thing happened. Like, Fiora just walks level 1 into our blue side jungle and invades Jerry, and Jerry has to flash level 1. So, I mean, it wasn't over then, but it really was deflating. Because, I mean, I did really well in my lane. I was 4-0 at one point on Israel. But it was also like... There's this unstoppable Fiora on the side. So everything sort of deteriorated after that. And it was just upsetting because this is a team we definitely can beat in a 2-0 fashion maybe. But they essentially were able to beat us through top lane, at least in game 3. So.
Yeah. And then next series against UMass.
Yes. UMass game 1 was really fun. So it was probably it was one of the longest games we've had this year. It was 40, 45 minutes-ish, somewhere in there. There was back and forth team fights. It was a bit of a comeback game from us as well. And then specifically the Soul fight was really, really fun because there was like me R-ing in as Kaisa, trying to assassinate Orianna and having to stopwatch all their CC thrown at me at once. And then at one point, I'm in Dragon Pit, which is the Ocean Soul. So Misfortune's autoing me, and I'm almost about to die. So I flash into the bush, and then Z lands a hook on her, and I was able to one-shot her while she gets her last auto off to kill me. So it's like a 1-for-1. And, I mean, there's a lot of really fun plays. And those are the type of games I like to play. It's not like a super stomp from either side or even like a super clean game from either side where it's like both teams have a chance to win. And it's really down to your mechanics or your late game macro that actually wins it. So
yeah, well, that's definitely enjoyable to play. I mean, those kinds of games when it's like, I guess I'm gonna play Vayne top and we're just gonna roll over this game. Towards the end where it's just like pure micro or pure macro.
Yeah.
That is definitely very fun. So then. That was game 1. Game 2.
Game 2, so was a lot more of a wash. I went like 12-2, 12-3 on Zaya. And honestly, I said game 1 was a bit of a comeback. So it felt like after they lost that and then they kind of got behind early, they started making some int plays. So
it's kind of mental boom a little bit.
Yeah, it was just a mental boom from them. But game 1 was really fun. It was the most fun competitive game I've played in a long time. So
come on, well, love to hear that.
Yeah.
And then we rounded out against Cornell.
Game 1.
Noticing a pattern of winning game 1, and then something happens.
So game 1, we won. Team play, nothing super hard or whatever, and it was just a convincing win, I'd say.
Yep.
It honestly, for me, it felt like after game 1, this was just going to be 2-0 because it felt like from a lot of levels, like individually wise, we are either just as good or better than them. And then from a team play wise, it felt like we're a lot better than them. Yeah. The game 2, we kind of flipped it. And
in what way? In team fight, in draft, in
it was sort of almost the same game, but not the same. So we had the same comps and the same style of comps, I'd say. Okay. But instead of us kind of convincingly beating them, they kind of convincingly beat us.
Okay, gotcha.
And while it was the same type of comp, I think game 2 and game 3 specifically, they picked more micro skill check champions, I'd say. And they were able to skill check us essentially for some of these fights in early laning phase skirmishes and whatever. And then, I mean, game 3, we picked a protect comp. It was a bit low damage, I'd say, and definitely probably should have been a little bit different, but it is what it is. And, I mean, their top lane, Kennen, got ahead and was able to just roll over the entire team. If you watch the stream, there's one team fight where Kennen lands a 4-man R, not even on me, and just sort of one-shots the entire team. And it's like, well, I'm in a 1v5 now, so... Yeah. I'm not winning that.
Yeah, I think we've all been in games like that where it's just like, okay. I guess we're
they played the fights really well, so
yeah.
I won't say it's like we had a chance to win, but they played well and deserved the win. So
yeah.
And then I guess I saw as a whole group of whole, we went 2-3 with the bye week counting as a win as well. So we finished fourth in our group, and I think just looking at the games, it was very possible for us to go 4-1, where our only loss was against Michigan State.
Yeah.
And if we went 4-1, we would have made it out of the group and into playoffs. But it's not super disappointing. But I do wish that we at least took one of those two series that we lost 1-2. So
yeah. So I guess what I had seen was that, or what I'm seeing here is that we win in all the series except the Michigan State one. We won game 1 in a pretty good way, and then something kind of happens going into game 2.
Yeah, I think it's probably two main reasons. I think just looking at our ranks in general, I don't think we are as highly ranked as the other teams. Whether that be compared to this split or last split. Last split, there's some players in this that are like masters or even grandmasters. So maybe they just went into the games thinking it was going to be a little bit easier. But yeah. And then I think by extension of that, game 1, we showed how good our team play was. But then they sort of noticed that individually wise, they could probably skill check us. And then that's what usually happened. They picked more towards a skill check type of comp or just champions in general. So after that, and we would get behind early, and it's just harder to play the game out from there. So
that's fair. I mean, yeah, I know that this is we're going to be losing a good portion of our varsity roster going into next semester. So this was kind of other than CCL, the last like large thing that we get to do as a team. As someone who's on the team, do you feel like this was a okay send off for what this team has to offer?
Well, winning CCL would be a good send off. So I don't think from C-level perspective, we weren't going into it thinking we were just gonna beat every team and win it all. I do think we all agree that we should have won a game or two more. So
yeah. Love to hear that. Speaking of teams that
but let's not talk about varsity anymore.
Yeah, let's talk about JV. And let's talk about teams that should have won a game or two or more. Not a great week for JV.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can harken back to USD. So a team that doesn't seem to win any games. Huskers Black.
Huskers Black. They had their series against DOV Gamers.
A series again. That you were supposed to at least do the best. You were supposed to the series you had the best chance to win.
Yeah, it definitely was. I have a title for a new title for this team, which is some people I've noticed have been calling us Game 2 Andes because our Game 1s are usually really bad, and our Game 2s are much better. I want to put this out that we are Game 2 Andy imposters.
Oh yeah, because you don't even win them.
You have to win Game 2 to be a Game 2 Andy. But I think that we just so Game 1 was I think probably our worst game that we've had all season. I think everyone on the team could agree with that. And there were some things that were really hard. They drafted Talia Bot.
I do remember that.
I was expecting it to be jungle, and then some things made it so that maybe it's actually mid lane, but because we picked the Syndra to go into it, they then picked Katarina, which is a real hard for Syndra. That is an impossible lane, and not the best matchup, obviously. Also, not the reason why they got their lead, though.
No. I only watched a little bit of the games, but Katarina definitely was a big part of their win.
Yes.
But I think just overall looking at all of the map.
Yeah, it was the map play. They were very unfocused. Now, to Huskers Black credit, going into Game 2, they flipped a switch. They flipped. They all of a sudden were like, "Oh, the room's dark," and all of a sudden they like played and were talking out of their mind. Like it was really cool to see how night and day this team can be. which is
Maybe cool is not the right word.
it is enlightening.
Frustrating sometimes.
Very frustrating. It's something that I want the team to be able to tap into, especially considering that the season's coming to an end. They only have one more game left, and
they will not make playoffs.
They will not make playoffs no matter what they do. The team that they are playing against, which is Stun Gaming Nebula, is 5-1, and we are currently haven't won any games.
Nope.
So we will see. The game is rescheduled to Wednesday, which is
before
when we're recording this, before when this comes out. So the results are happening here. They're here. This is what happened in this game. Wow.
Wow.
That's the.
Oh my God, Huskers back! You won 2-0.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe they won.
Oh my God, you lost 0-2. What are you doing?
You gotta do another one for.
Man, you lost 1-2. At least you won a game.
No.
You won 1 or 2-1. Well, banger series.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll have to see. I'm very interested to see what this team has for their send off.
Yeah.
But a team that is not necessarily being sent off is Huskers Scarlet.
It's not being sent off. They are in playoffs. If I remember correctly.
They're not guaranteed. It's almost guaranteed. It's basically guaranteed. But there is a scenario where they don't make it.
I mean,
if they win any games, I think they're guaranteed.
They are against arguably the second or worst team.
They should win this game. But let's talk about last week first.
Yeah.
So they went up against White Lotus, who is
tied for first.
Tied for first right now. So definitely a hard team to play against. And after talking with some of the players, they definitely felt like it was just some really rough games. Maybe some poor communication, maybe some poor focus. Whichever it was, you want to see this team challenged, and this team has been asking to be challenged for the entire season.
Yeah.
So
they've lost twice. So
they have. They've been challenged, and we want them to continue stepping up into that. I think they definitely want to step up.
Yeah.
And they got to get into playoffs, and to do that, you gotta win the next game, which is against TFF 5G.
They are 1-4.
They're 1-4, so should be. The ranks aren't that great. Nothing shouldn't be too scary. They're trying to get it rescheduled right now, so we're unsure of when that game is happening.
I assume it's rescheduled just to 7 o'clock on Saturday? Or?
Potentially. They're trying to reschedule it to a different day because of other scheduling conflicts. If not, I might be filling in. But we'll see. Stay tuned unless the game's already happened. And if the game's already happened, here's the score. This is what happened.
Oh, yeah. You won 2-0, and I'm not going to do takes for all of them again.
No. So we'll see how the team goes. I'm expecting them to do. I'm expecting them to go 2-0.
Yeah. Even if you had to sub, they could go 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if I sub, they'll go 2-0. Especially is the word there. But they definitely are going to want to continue their season out.
I think just as a whole, we've been praising them all season, and I do think they can have a chance to win all playoffs, but they'll need to step up. So
they do. They have to put in a lot of work and do coaching sessions with some people like me.
There are specific players that need to step up.
There are specific players that need to step up, and there's other players that need to continue doing what they're doing. They're not allowed to slow down. If you want to win.
Yeah, Preston can't slow down.
Preston can't
the
slow
only
down.
person I'll say, Preston, you're doing well.
Yeah. You have. I'm like, no one's allowed to slow down. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No one is allowed to slow down. You have to keep pushing if you want a chance, because some of these players have been playing in competitive for quite a while. Speaking of competitive, they've been playing for quite a while. Worlds is going on.
Worlds is going on and almost done. Yeah, I mean, we can go over the series. Do we want to? We'll start with BLG Weibo.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you watched this one and couldn't watch the other one. So.
Yeah, and I have some J notes.
You have J notes?
I have J notes. Jay is our producer and has has some lovely things like Xiaohu and Crisp are frauds.
As I think that as well. Crisp has been overrated for the past years, and Xiaohu's always been overrated.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was actually really cool to see was like Knight was just doing so well this whole series. But also, I think Breathe was playing phenomenally. I think we've been talking about Gigabin for the entire tournament, and Breathe was really holding his own.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's been a long-time watcher of the LPL, I've been watching almost 5 years at this point. I've been watching Breathe's career with great interest, right? And I think this guy's really good. Do I think he's as good as Ben or Zeus or even like a Khan or Smeb was? Probably not. But he's going to be similar in that Doran-esque role where he's going to be on those top teams consistently and always has a chance to win. But he'll need to step up his play if he wants to win a world championship. I mean, you already made a semifinals, which is more than most players can say.
That's true.
So
yeah,
I think just looking at BLG specifically, I had Knight and June did really, really well this series. And again, Ben looked okay. He wasn't dominating games, but he wasn't griefing at all.
I think that is to the credit of Breathe.
Yeah.
I think Breathe was really good at shutting down Ben in the series, and it made it so that Ben's job was a lot harder. But BLG I think have continued to grow because I know that it looked scary going into Swiss.
Out of Swiss. And then they beat my boys.
Yeah, they did.
They would be in finals right now, by the way.
Probably.
And then I would also say Light on Weibo I actually think he was the best player on their team for the series, so give him credit for that. Tarzan picked Elise for some reason. I'm a big Tarzan fan, but I don't know why you're picking Elise nowadays. Champion's just dog.
Don't ask me.
But, I mean, do you have any other notes on this series? I think it wasn't a super interesting series. It was a 3-0 BLG. So.
It was 3-0. Jax all three games. If we're gonna get a Jax,
we're gonna get a Jax
if
skin.
BLG wins.
If it isn't a Jax skin, I'd be very surprised.
And I bet you that his back animation has a jacket toss.
Oh, true. Could be thing.
Happen.
Yeah.
Ben's interview was the winner's interview was phenomenal. He does definitely care about just the narratives and stuff. I'm like, he was referencing a couple of them, so that was really cool to see. But another game that had some narrative was T1 versus Gen G.
Yeah, and my only note is draft diff with 2 question marks, because look at all the games and ask yourself who won draft, and they won the game. And it wasn't even like to the credit of the other team, perhaps. It was more like whoever lost the game kind of griefed draft. I'm going to be real. Specifically, like looking at T1's game 2, you have Caitlyn and Braum, and then you have Kindred. It was like, it was just odd. And then same thing with like Gen G game 1. Oh, they're banning out Gumayushi's pool with the Xayah and the Callista, and they're going to first pick Ashe, so he doesn't have as one of his best champions. And then they don't first pick Ashe, and then Gumayushi's playing on as one of his best champions. And yeah, I mean, there was a few games where Paze was playing a Ziggs, or he just wasn't doing much, or they couldn't kill Zeus because he was a tank. And I mean, overall, I think you can say a lot about Lahen's not having a great series. You can say, oh, well, Chovy was prioritizing CS in that last team fight, which I think is dumb, because you can probably find a screenshot for literally all 5 T1 players where they hit a minion in a team fight. Like, I am a little bit disappointed because it just didn't feel like Gen G played their best series. I think they had a really good game 2, to be fair. But I wanted Gen G to win. And from a narrative perspective, I thought a BLG Gen G series was going to be a lot more interesting to watch. But T1 won, and I'm never really mad when T1 wins. I am starting to get a little annoyed at T1 fans specifically, because, I mean, it doesn't feel like they're always watching the games. They're just like, after T1 wins, they say, "Oh, I was right. T1 is good." Well, yeah, T1 was always good. They just kind of griefed in summer. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think there's still a lot of narratives with T1 going into BLG.
yeah.
I mean, Knight versus Faker is going to be great. Zeus versus Ben, we've been wanting to see
Mhm.
it for a while. Ben has been asking it seems like the whole tournament. And then on that, it's gonna be really
It's gonna be a good series, to be fair. And I mean, going into the preview, I want BLG to win.
Mhm.
I think it'd be more interesting to see Knight and Ben sort of achieve that,
Mhm.
get over that final hurdle, achieve that world championship, and just for, I'd just say in China in general, just proving that they still are able to be at the top.
Yeah.
Because these past 2 years they have definitely struggled when it comes to the later half of the tournament, I'd say. So
Yeah. Well, it seems like as a production, we're all BLG favored because I also want BLG to win.
Mhm.
It's reading some J notes. He also wants BLG to win. We have the all Chinese super team versus
the all Korean
T1.
super
Yeah.
team, yeah,
So,
essentially.
um,
I mean, going role by role a little bit. The only role I'm super worried about is top lane, just because Ben didn't have his best series last series, and it might have been because of Breathe, but you still would. Breathe's not as good as Zeus,
yeah,
obviously.
Zeus is definitely better.
So
than
if Ben's sort of isn't beating Breathe as consistently as you want,
Breathe.
I was going to look into Zeus. I think obviously the premier matchup is Knight versus Faker. I mean, the GOAT versus probably the mid lane Chinese GOAT. So,
yeah,
but I want to say specifically, jungle mid is going to be the deciding factor of the series. I think if June and Knight are playing really, really well and they would outperform Owner and Faker, it's going to be, I think BLG's, that's their avenue to win this series. But
Yep.
I do think also Elk has been looking better than Gumayushi this
Elk's
tournament.
been looking so good.
Yeah. I think looking at this tournament, I think I've come to the conclusion that Gumayushi's only real weakness, I'd say, is his champ pool. Because you're looking at his champ pool of like Xayah, Kalista, Ashe, Varus, and Caitlyn. Then after that, it's like he can play Jinx pretty well. But, I mean, you're not really thinking, oh, he's not playing Aphelios as much, or he's not playing a Sivir, or he's not even playing Ziggs, per se. And I think if you get some of those more meta 80 carries that are in his pool out, like the Xayah, like the Ashe, and Kalista, to be fair, I think T1's bot lane's going to struggle a little bit more. And I think their Pyke is a little bit overrated, but it is fun to watch. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to see. Do you have a prediction?
I'll do BLG 3-2.
Well, Jay also says BLG 3-2, and I also say BLG 3-1.
Ooh. How does T1 win their one game then?
I think BLG just FF the first game, and then they go with 3-0.
Yeah, sure.
No, I mean it'll be a fun series, but I do think BLG have been ramping up towards this, and I think if they're maintaining that momentum, it doesn't feel like T1 are ramping in the same kind of way.
I mean, they definitely massively improved from Swiss to quarters, but they've been pretty steady since then.
Yeah.
So I do want to say T1, 3 finals in a row now. Very good.
Come on.
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
Well, technically not. SKT did it already.
Yeah. With Faker.
With Faker.
I mean.
And yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against T1, and I like most of their players. I own T1 merch. I just, at the end of the day, when it comes to Worlds, we've already seen T1 go to 2 finals straight now and win one of them. It's just nice to see other teams win it, other players build legacies. And I do want to touch on the idea of, like, it is important for T1 to not win in all the time, just because a lot of people talk about when Faker retires, League's going to take a hit for that viewership. And if we want it sort of to rebound or for it to maintain at least as much as we possibly wanted to, we do need to have other players with that legacy. Like, if Chovy was able to win this World Championship, I do think he would kind of be stepping up into that Faker role. Obviously, no one's ever going to be Faker, but we do need someone to step up be someone like him.
Yeah.
So,
But I think a key point into kind of what you're saying is it needs to be someone stepping up.
yes.
I think that's something that's really cool that's happening, and it's actually, I know that not everyone loves the world song. I love the world song. I think it's awesome, and I think it is perfect. Like narratively.
Funnily enough, it was very good.
It is.
If you look at the word song,
It's
Caps is
narratively
opening
perfect.
the gates for BOG, and BOG beat G2.
Mhm.
Masu had a really good tournament in it.
And he had like it was Masu's Varus versus Chovi's Akali.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like narratively, it was.
Script writers were very lazy this
They
year.
were.
It took inspiration from the music video, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean it was, but like narratively of Heavy as the Crown, just like as a concept, T1
From
still have the crown.
from the narrative perspective, the
It
music
is.
video is good. I do like the animation for it.
Mm-hmm. And like the whole message of Heavy is the
Mhm.
crown, because I think that goes exactly to what you're saying of like, we need someone else to step up, but you know what, this crown is heavy and people are trying to take it, and they're gonna have to rip it from Faker and his boys. Like they're gonna have to keep trying, and we'll be seeing that on Saturday, and you guys can join us. 7:30 is when the doors open. 7:30 a.m. Central. If you're in Nebraska, you should know it's Central.
If you're not in Central and you're coming to this,
I mean, you're welcome.
okay.
I mean,
7:30 Central.
7:30 is when the doors open. Game 1 is at 9 o'clock. It is in Anderson, room 114.
Yeah. I've been told to not enter in through the parking lot side. Go through the other side.
The other side.
Because there's gonna be tailgating for the football.
That side.
It's that side.
Yeah. So, come join us. We would love to have you. We will possibly have snacks.
We'll have snacks. Yeah. I mean, bring your own if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure at the end of the day we're gonna have to clean up everything. So.
Yep. Treat the space with respect.
Mm-hmm. Don't be obnoxious. Just don't be a bad person. Yeah, just don't be a bad person. Come on.
That's the message of the day from
And
mojojoe.
you can have at least one BOG fan with you if you are there for a BOG. So.
You can't have a T1 fan with you.
You can be most people are gonna be T1 fans.
Oh, I guess. Well, I mean, not according to this production. Is all BLG fans.
To be fair, if you talk to most of the other competitive players that you know, they are rooting for T1.
Yeah,
because they're normies.
That's fair.
So.
I mean, I'm mainly just rooting for BLG just for my pick'ems.
True.
That's like half the reason.
I did pick BLG over T1. So
yeah, but that is all we have for Cornhusker Cooldown. Make sure you stay tuned in the Discord for any announcements regarding JV news. Varsity is not playing any games on Monday. So thank you guys for watching on the 9th episode of Cornhusker Cooldown, and we will see you guys next week.